How's it going? How's this week been?
Great.
Oh, yeah. Interesting week.
Yeah. Any questions about that product code list that I sent out?
Actually, I'd like you to go over the assignment one, like how to kind of get started, because I've never written
Yep.
anything like this before.
Sure.
So I
Yeah,
did pick one and I sent it to you.
okay. Yeah, I saw some back and forth. Um, so I will let me see, where do I have this anyway? So it's a fairly long list. I left off there are some similar products as well in a couple of the lower numbered classifications as well. And I've left those off because you start getting into some, interesting, territory, I'd say, with in vitro diagnostic products. But if you're specifically, more interested in doing something like that, we can chat. But this is should be a more straightforward set of products. Here, I'm gonna zoom out and then I'll share my screen. So to give you guys a sense, so and you have this document. Hopefully you can open it. Um, there for a lot of other product codes, you will find that there is a description that accompanies that, or you can find some other products that'll have a device description and indications for use statement in the actual 510(k) summary, for instance, right? So let me just give you an example. So for a tourniquet, maybe this DRP, product code. So let me just take a look here. So actually, I want to go to FDA 510(k) database. And we'll go over here. And then we'll drop the product code. Actually, we're going to just do this. So there are a number of tourniquet, products, for instance. Here, we can take a look and see if this most recent one, they have a statement. So that's not going to be helpful. Here we've got another ATS, automated tourniquet. Here's a summary. So just as an example of a device description and indications for use, right? So this is the kind of, set of statements that I'm looking for you to craft. And the reason that I've given you this list of product codes is because there's not currently a device description or indication for use that's readily available for you to copy and paste, right? You've got to do a little bit of wordsmithing and crafting yourself. Are you going to have to do that often in your life? Probably not a whole lot, because, generally you're going to be in a position where the device description already exists, where the indications for use already exist. But if you're working on a very, very early stage project, and you need to come up with a device description, you need to come up with an indications for use, that's where this exercise is particularly useful, right? Where you've got a brand new product, maybe there's a rudimentary device description, but you'll go ahead and work on it. And usually it's, the name of the product. So as sort of a rough template, the name of the product, is, so like this is where I would probably start with this product. I'm not a huge fan of the way they did their device description exactly, but like just as a rough sense. So the name of the device is a tourniquet cuff, and it's applied to the patient prior to beginning a procedure. Connective tubing is attached to the cuff, plugged into the connector ports, and it's controlled by a touchscreen user interface. So that would be, a perfectly acceptable device description, for instance, for this, product. I would trim it down a little bit more than they've trimmed this down. And then the indications for use would cover some of this information. It's intended to temporarily occlude blood flow in a patient's extremities during a surgical procedure. And it's intended to be used by perioperative nurses, surgeons, anesthesiologists to temporarily occlude blood flow in a patient's extremity during, surgical procedure, something like that. So there's not a like perfect or right way to craft it. And some of the feedback I'm going to look to give you guys, it's not necessarily on like the scoring of the assignment, but looking to sort of figure out how your brains are wired, how you're, drafting a statement. And I'll try to give you some constructive feedback. I'm just looking for you guys to do it, and we're good in terms of like points. I'm not gonna grade you on points so much. I mean, unless it's egregious, you give me you give me a description that's totally unrelated to the product you select. I mean, okay, yeah, I'll downgrade you for that. But the goal is not like sort of a gotcha exercise. They don't have like a really detailed grading rubric for this. It's mostly, did you write a device description that's credible? Like, and did you put together an indications for use, statement that's, that's credible? I can pull together here this week a couple more, sort of details around what you want to include in a device description. But this is again where what I would point you to, and I think I might have included this. I thought I had.
I just wanted to see, just to make sure, because in other classes, they kind of been a little bit vague about what they want. So you have to I would have to just like create what I thought it was, and I feel uncomfortable doing that. So now I know exactly what you want, and that's exactly what you get.
I'm looking for a paragraph or two of a device description, slightly longer is better, but, it'd be somewhat detailed. But you don't have a lot to go on either, because I've given you a product code and a device name. You can go do some research on Google, see if you can figure out what one of these things you want to do, sort of looks like. Try to pull bonus points if you want to pull an image, and drop it in. Go for it. But it's not a requirement. We'll want that for the pre-submission, so you can kind of get ahead of yourself a little bit, because I will for the pre-submission assignment, I'm going to ask you to like come up with an image of the product, tell ChatGPT to do it, or I guess you can't do it with ChatGPT unless you have the paid version, probably. I don't remember now whether the free allows you to do image generation or not. They keep updating this, but like the version that I use, I can have ChatGPT do it. But you could just like search for an image, pull something. I'm not too worried for an educational assignment about like infringement on anything. You can go search iStock photo, and even if it's got something that says iStock or whatever on it, or whatever, Adobe photo, whatever, you can pull something like that. Even it doesn't have to be super amazing, but like that's the idea for the next assignment. So if you want, like, that might even help you in crafting a device description, is find an image of a representative thing that's sort of like this, of one of these. I don't even know what's a cervical cone knife anyway. I'd have to do a Google search to even
I
have
already did a Google search. That's how I picked my device.
That's good. So you've got like a sense of sort of what to go on. Maybe you've got an image that you can use as a reference, as you sort of describe what the thing is. But the idea is to get you in the mode of here. So if I go into, and this is a helpful sort of cheat, here, let me see. I think I might have even pulled the language from this in the assignment. I don't recall right now. But so let's say it's a pre-market 510K. So you can go pull the eStart template, right? Go here, traditional, and we'll do this as a final assignment, by the way, which will be assigned in a couple of weeks. We'll be making putting together a rudimentary 510K submission for one of these products that you've selected. Ideally, you use the same one all the way through. It's probably less work, but you might decide you get a little ways into it and you decide you want to change change direction. And do your 510K submission on something else. But the idea is to build our way towards this. So forget the cover letter, go down to device description. Okay, so
so I've never used eStar. Where is that?
It'll be a link that that you'll get later, but you can find it if you want.
Is it just the editing program?
It's so it's a program that FDA makes available. So if you search for eStar, ESTAR, there'll be a set of links that FDA has, and we'll get into that in week 6, and we'll talk a little bit about this.
So right now for this assignment, you just like one in a Word doc?
Yeah, a Word document or something is perfect. Okay. So a Word document, you can do it as a PDF. I mean, you could even send it to me as a text file, is probably fine, but no. Word document would be good.
That's too elementary. I remember writing them.
So FDA in a couple different places gives you a definition of what they want to see in a device description. Okay, so one example here, let me see if so they do it in the PMA and also in the de novo. They identify what what should be included in a device description. I think in the 510K language, it's a little bit more. Yeah, they basically use the same language here. So here, I'll show you. So for a device description, and I'll send this out as well via email.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So here's a device description from, sort of from FDA's, perspective. Let me see. This is for a PMA. Sort of at a high level, indications for use and device description are these, right? And then in more detail, in terms of device description, FDA outlines this in the PMA language, in terms of what's in the regulation itself. But you're not going to have to go into this, right? This detail, not so much. It's going to be this, this piece of that. A complete description of the device. We'll skip the pictorial representations, but that's like an added bonus, let's say. At this point, I'm just looking for the written text. Each of the functional components, the properties of the device, and the principles of operation of the device. So this is what you're looking for in terms of a device description, okay? And then here, the indications for use, a general description of the disease or condition. Is the indications for use in the device description is an explanation of how the device functions. Okay.
Okay.
And then over here we've got the same basic information, but here it specifically calls out again some of those pictorial representations, device specifications, engineering drawings, and otherwise it's pretty similar. Okay, so I'll send some of this out as a little bit more direction on this, and I'll update the assignment accordingly to include some of these, some of this language effectively. But we've gone through that in some of the what is an indications for use statement, what is a device description. We've talked through some of that in the in the content last week.
Yeah, I didn't really listen to all that yet. Sorry.
Yeah, go listen. That'll help.
I will. I've been busy this week, so.
Yeah. So anyway, but I'll send some of this some of this out. I think that'll also help.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I mean, how's your week been, Oli?
Good. Yeah, I wrote the material. I have a question that I'm thinking about. So regarding the indications for use, and I either read in the material and listened to the lectures. So the indications for use are more specific than the intended use.
Yeah.
So there are some points that the indications for use has to specify, like the intending users. Yeah, some more specific things. But could the text be used also as an intended use? Because I mean, the FDA asks for the indications for use, but other markets ask for the intended use. They phrase it a little.
They're somewhat interchangeable, let's
Mm.
say. And so the only thing is intended use may, in some instances, be more broad as FDA interprets it. So in the language, you can, and FDA has, allowed some of this where you can say, they've sometimes been more nitpicky about it. But if you say the intended use in the labeling, and then you call out the exact same language as the indications for use, you're usually fine. So if you title it intended use in the label, but and it's identical language within that, and then the indications for use statement, you use that same, that same statement, then FDA sometimes, isn't going to be as nitpicky about the specific terminology you use in the labeling, around whether it's intended use or indications for use. And sometimes you'll see some labels as well talk about a broad intended use, right? And then the specific indications for use. So it depends. And usually what I see most companies do is that they have a US specific label, and they might have regional specific labels for other countries. So there's such disparate sets of requirements on some of this. You almost get down to the country level in terms of having to craft a label for packaging, et cetera, that's going to directly meet the local requirements. It's not entirely true, but like I tend to move in those directions where you almost want country specific labeling, both package labeling as well as instructions. It's not what supply chain wants to hear, but
that was good. I was wondering about the same thing. Thanks, Ollie.
So what do you think about the course so far? Anything in particular that aside from the assignment that'll be due next week, anything that needs additional clarity in terms of what you've seen thus far, Marianne? Or
no, you've been really, really thorough. I mean, with everything, besides me not listening to the lecture. I'm working on that. It's on my calendar. Anyway, but I've already been thinking about the assignment. You know what I mean? So I got something going.
Yep, that's good.
Well, I'm interviewing for another another part-time position. So
okay,
it's a lot of stuff this week. But I will finish those before the end of the week, and I will finish the thing before next.
All right. And then did you have a chance to, play around a little bit with, with Orca 1 or with,
not really. I just went in there and kind of looked around. It looks like you can get information for medical device stuff and you can store it in there. Is that what happens?
Yeah,
you can. There are different things, but go ahead.
It looks very useful as far as I have used it. And it summarizes information from a lot of different sources. And yeah, it helps, I think, make decisions based on that. I think it was great. I liked it a lot.
Oh, is it better
Yeah,
than just Googling around, or?
Yeah, because they'll give you more targeted information like relevant clinical trials and this kind of stuff. So it's like a Google search on steroids.
All right, then I will use it. I'll go in there and start playing around with it. It's just there's always a
So
learning curve, and I'm sitting there going, oh, nothing.
some of it is just, you just go in and I don't know, you do a little bit of searching, and the nice thing is that it depends on what you're looking for, right? So this is where as well, feel free to use Orca 1 as your, trying to work on this particular exercise. Use some keywords that are there and see if there's some information you can find. You can kind of, get a rough framework of maybe, what you want to, to use there. I'd ask you to do a little bit of, crafting of the language, but that doesn't mean that you can't, take take something as a framework for what you want to do for your device description and intended use. The goal of the exercise is to make you use your brains a little bit so that you can't just copy paste from something that's there. But if you can go find something that's 80% of the way to what a device description or an indications for use for this particular product would be, feel free to do that and sort of find something that gets you most of the way there. And then, make sure that you tweak it to, to be specific. But, trying to get you guys to think a little bit, because a lot of what we do in regulatory is sort of copy paste and then just a little bit of wordsmithing. And, this may turn into that kind of an exercise as well, depending on, what product code you select. But, the goal is for you to sort of have to spend a little bit of time thinking about, what is the right indications for use for this, product. You can't just pull it off of a label for a product that's already on the market. That's the idea, is to, make you think a little bit at least.
Is there a little short tutorial, or should I just search for one? I just want to kind of get an overview.
I mean,
an easy one. I don't want
the lectures. I mean, the lectures, I go through, I don't know. Did you listen to the lectures last week, Olympiada, on device description and intended use?
No, I mean with Orca.
Oh, with Orca 1. So yeah. There's actually there's a video as well. I go through a little bit of it's for a previous iteration of it, but I go through a little bit of a tutorial. It's maybe not as involved or comprehensive a tutorial as you might want, but there's an Orca 1 tutorial in that's available to you in one of the videos. It's a supplemental.
That, but I didn't...
It's a supplemental video in one of the weeks.
I might look for one online. I just want like a quick intro. You know what I mean? Just so I understand it. If I don't have too much time, I don't spend too much time on
it. Yeah.
I'll look around and see what I find. There might be something just like 10-minute intro. I'll look at yours too.
just put it on 2x speed. It's still longer than. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Here, Orca 1.
The second one. Here,
so on YouTube they have some videos here.
Yeah, I can. Oops, they're talking about the killer
whale. I go to Orca 1, 12 videos. They did some of these things like a year ago. It's probably on some older versions. They had one from 7 months ago asking the AI search for the most recently added. They have some on post-market surveillance. They got some short tutorials. So if you go to Orca 1 on YouTube.
Okay.
They've got a couple videos there.
Okay. I'm getting a lot of whales.
So if you do Orca 1 all as one word, ORCA, and then the number 1.
That's what I did, and I got a bunch of Orca whales.
And I think so the other thing, it's Orca 1 DI.
Okay, let me do that one.
Is the @ and you should find them, and it's the whale jumping, but they got 12 videos, and
Oh yeah,
you can go look at some of those short tutorials. Maybe will be helpful.
You got a robot orca. Interesting. Okay, I'll look it up. I'll do that today. I have a little bit of time today, so I'll do it.
So again, some of those might be on earlier iterations, basically, of the of the product. They're making some continued development of the platform, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to introduce you guys to it. Is I think what's going to be achievable using their software will be pretty impressive. It already is pretty pretty good. There are a lot of other softwares out there that you can use. So, Basil is one example. There are others, but they're built on some older infrastructure that's going to be less adaptable and less useful, probably moving forward. So I think the way that Orca 1 is built is hopefully going to be more powerful for you guys. If if you're selecting a software like this, it'll also be a lot more affordable if you decide at some point that you want to leverage it, or if you want to try to convince your employer that they should use a software like this, because the other softwares are just very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So Orca 1 at least is a little bit more affordable, and you guys right now have the most affordable access, or it should be, under just sort of a free trial as part of the part of the course, give you a chance to sort of get a sense of what these kinds of softwares are capable of, how that compares to having to do some of this manually. And it depends on how much work you have to do. But nonetheless, you will find some stuff using Orca 1 that even a Google search, and even somebody like me, I can go and find most of this stuff on my own, but it'll take me a lot longer, and I might not even find all of it using the sort of normal processes that I'll go through to get all the information. So Orca 1
start using it, I'll love it. So
huh?
I said, I'm sure once I start using it, I'll love it. So
it's just it just makes for an easier process for identifying most of the relevant stuff that you're really going to care about, and giving you sort of ready access and links there. I don't know, Olympiada, have you had experience with any of these other softwares? I mean, what's your experience with any of this?
No, I haven't used any of the others either. And it was the first time I used Orca 1. Yeah.
So what did you think about it? What's your sort of take? What's good, what's bad, what's difficult, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was pretty straightforward to handle and navigate. So I don't think you need much training to understand how it works. I like that you can find information for any products really, very easily. Very like all information concentrated in one place. You can compare. It also provides some analysis up to an extent. For example, the dates of the review, that's FDA's review, or for recalls, if the reporting was within the deadlines. Yeah. And it was easily, it was easy to compare with other products, or if you want to find a predicate device, you could do that easily, or compare with other devices. That would normally take a long time to do manually.
Yeah, so the predicate tree in particular is helpful, and you'll find that in other similar software, but that's a very powerful tool, absolutely. So that's one of the most useful things with that Orca 1 is doing, and that you'll pay quite a bit for other companies to give you, is that predicate tree, sort of layout and outline of how these predicates are connected. Okay, we're in week 4, and yeah, there's this supplemental video, and there was also a regulatory software discussion. I don't know. Oh, that was not. All right. Yeah, it looks like you guys had a pretty robust discussion. I'm just catching up now, looking at the this last week's regulatory software discussion, and hopefully, this week, you're able to, use Orca or other, softwares to help you sort of get ready for this next week. Feel free to use that tool throughout the, throughout the course, either for things that you're interested in. There might even be work projects for some people, where it's a useful, a useful tool for, some project that you're doing directly, while you're in the course. You've got access to, use it how how you want to. But also just for this project, I can envision a couple ways to be using Orca, to help you with the indications for use and device description, sort of exercise that we're doing. So, all right. Well, I don't know. We've got another 20 minutes. You got anything in particular that you want to talk through? Anything that anything that you think would be helpful for you in the next couple of weeks? As we're about a third of the way through the course.
Did you say that we're going to practice also on the E-star, like PDF?
Yeah, so there'll be a couple E-star templates. There's one for the pre-submissions, and that I'll introduce next week. The assignment for for doing the pre-submission preparation, and FDA has a PDF template for dropping this information into a QSub document. So we'll get into that this next week, and then the week after that we'll do, or I'd say a couple weeks after that, we'll do a mock IDE submission using some of the same information. I'll send you a a template for just sort of a high level IDE submission. There might be some empty sections that, depending on what you've selected, they'll or we might leverage for that. I'm still trying to decide whether for the IDE one that you would carry forward with the device description and indications for use and all of that, or whether we'll give you sort of a mock protocol or something to use, and then you can sort of present and package that all up to FDA. Most of it's just trying to get you to actually do some of these things once, because you'll learn a lot more by doing than by talking about it, by watching me do it. Really want to kind of, get you using some of these tools, and other things that you're going to need for getting submissions into, into FDA. So I'll also probably do a little bit of a tutorial in maybe next week's office hours, or maybe the week after that. I'm not sure, I'm not sure which. But in one of these weeks, we'll do a little bit of a tutorial on the e-submitter tool, and just make that available as well to everybody. I think that'll be helpful for you.
Oh, sounds interesting. I've never tried myself to work on an IDE, so I think that will be interesting to learn.
And most of it's just about having a template and a sense of what this is all going to look like, and be able to package something together, and then basically have a you'll have a framework, and then you'll have gone through an exercise of putting this together. The goal is really to get a sense of what that what that looks like, to do, and have a practical skill that you'll be able to, then hopefully exercise moving forward and let people know that, you know how to do 3 different submission types, to FDA. You've got training and putting together pre-submissions and IDEs and 510Ks. And that also covers de novos, quite frankly, because it's the same process, the same sorts of templates and things like that that'll be useful for doing a de novo, same as having done a 510K. So any other questions? I mean, I guess we're I don't know, we don't have a lot of people joining us at this time. Back to just you. So you've got a captive audience. Anything you really want to know? I don't know. Now's your time.
Yeah, I've noticed that David likes and appreciates a lot of graphical representations and pictures.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's understandable. They want to also understand what they're reviewing. So I suppose this is why.
Well, some of it is because they're just looking at documents. And so if all you have is a written description, you're not necessarily going to have as clear an idea as if you get a physical representation or at least a pictorial representation of a product. It can sometimes clear up, questions that FDA may have about, about a particular particular product. So I don't know. It sounds like you're on track. Sounds like you got the information that that you need to move things forward.
Yeah, I think so.
Has it been a good couple of weeks outside of the course?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been okay. We haven't had a good summer weather here.
I'm glad to hear that. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't have anything else for this office hours if if we don't have specific questions or anything. But
Yeah,
here,
thanks a
what I'm
lot.
gonna absolutely, and feel free to hang on if you wanted.
I'll need to log off for now.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Oh, same to you.
All right. Bye for now.